First shots with the Springfield Prodigy. Well, I like it so far. Welcome back to Sawtooth Tactical. We've all seen the meme. Mom, I want staccato. We've got staccato at home. Staccato at home. Now, this is the Springfield Prodigy 1911 double stack. Be careful not to call it a 2011 because that is actually trademarked by Staccato. But 2011 is kind of like the word Kleenex. It means tissues. 2011 is this style of gun. A double stack 1911 with a 3-part, polymer grip, steel frame, steel slide. It's a 2011 style pistol, so I might use the term 2011 throughout this video. But I am very excited to bring this to you guys. I've been wanting this gun for a very long time, and it took a little work to get it. Before we get started, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. I've wanted a 2011 for a long time. And I've been very excited for the Springfield Prodigy to come out because it's a 2011. Technically not, but double stack 1911. It's much more affordable than most other 2011s on the market. And it seems to run good. So as I said in the intro, I am very excited to be bringing you guys this gun. I've been wanting a 2011 for a very long time. And although that was a bit of a joke in the intro, because I think one of the problems with this gun in particular is that everyone has been comparing it to a Staccato P. And I understand why. They are very comparable. If you put this side by side to a Staccato P, very similar styling in what they are. And so I get that. But it is a completely different gun, and we're going to talk about this specifically because I don't have a Staccato to compare it to. And that's kind of the beauty of this gun. I've always wanted a Staccato, or just a 2011 in general. I absolutely love 1911s. If you guys have been following my channel for any period of time, you know this. I've had a number of 1911s, and in fact, I've had a number of Springfield 1911s specifically, and I absolutely love them, but they've all been kind of relegated to range toy use for one reason, and that is being capacity. This is a 9mm 1911, and still the capacity is only 9 or 10 rounds, depending which magazines I'm using. Well, the 2011 or double stack 1911 rectifies that problem, and that is the beauty of something like this. So when the Springfield Prodigy came out, I was very excited. I felt like finally there was a 2011 that I could get into without spending over $3,000, because if you want a Staccato P, and I know I said I wasn't going to compare them, but as far as price goes, to get a Staccato P with an optics cut, you're spending $2,500. And then, of course, anybody that gets this kind of gun, or at least me, you're going to put a light and an optic on it. And you're going to be over $3,000 to get into that pistol. Well, with the Springfield Prodigy, you're at about $1,000 less than that, because this is about a $1,400, $1,500 pistol, depending where you find it, and it's already got the optics cut. So once you get the optic and the light for it, you're only looking at about $2,000 instead of $3,000. That's a significant price savings there. But if you guys have followed along about this pistol at all, it did have some issues when it was first released. And there were issues that I believe were very real. The reason I say that is because if you guys remember when I got this 9mm Springfield 1911, I had many of the same issues that people were having with the Prodigy, where the slide was catching on the disconnector there and failing to go fully into battery a lot of time. Now, with a little bit of polishing on the disconnector and the bottom of the slide and putting a few hundred more rounds through it, this thing runs like a sewing machine now, which is awesome. But when I saw that this gun came out with many of the same issues, but it looked like specifically the 5-inch model that had most of the issues, and I do believe part of that has to do with a 9mm round trying to push a full-size government 5-inch slide. You know, you have to spring it a little lighter for the 9mm than you would for 45 ACP. And so I saw a lot more issues, it looked like, with the 5-inch gun, and that is why I wanted the 4 1/4 inch. But I also felt like waiting until those issues had been worked out, which I believe they have been now. And part of the reason I believe that is because I took this thing out today, I put 100 rounds through it, not a single hiccup, 100% reliable so far, and that's the very first range day. But also, as soon as I got it, I took the whole thing apart, I cleaned it very well, and I lubricated it, you know, fairly liberally, because that's how 1911s like to run. So I wonder how many people got these and tried to run them like their Glock 19, dry or dirty, and maybe that's part of the reason that they had so many problems. 1911s need a little bit more care when it comes to cleaning and lubricating them. It's just the reality of John Moses Browning's design. And I think John Moses Browning, if he saw what has become of the 1911 these days, he should be very proud. You know, a design that is over 100 years old, modernized to something like this with a 20 round capacity in 9mm, able to mount a light, an optic, everything else that we're going to go into in this video. It is just very, very cool to me what the 1911 has evolved to become. So I had to hike through like knee-deep snow to get out here today, but it was worth it. I had to come out and shoot this. I've been wanting this gun for a long, long time. Oh, I love it. Here we're going to do a little unboxing, because part of where Springfield saves you money compared to a Staccato or a higher end 2011 is in the packaging, which to me, I'm perfectly fine with. So it comes in your standard cardboard box like most other Springfield Armory pistols, and then your standard little case here. But before we get into that, right here is where you have your manual, you've got a sticker, warranty information, all of that stuff. And in here is actually where your lock is. You have an optics plate for the Springfield Hex Dragonfly, which I will not be using. We'll be talking about optics plates in a minute. You use this hex key to take down the 2-piece full-length guide rod. This one for your optic. One of these, and one of these, standard stuff you get with every pistol. And then in here, it's got this nice little bag, which I actually use quite often with my other 1911. So to me, it's very useful. And here you have the pistol. Obviously, I've already unboxed this before. I took it shooting today. But it comes with one 17-round and one 20-round magazine. And it is a very, very cool pistol. I'm very happy with it. For what this thing costs, I think it is a great value, considering what other 2011s on the market cost. Now, it is a production gun, not a hand-fit gun per se. And that is one thing that you could tell when you're handling it. But I'm very happy with it. As you can see from the range footage, the thing ran flawlessly. But let's just check out the features, because it is very nice. I'm extremely happy with it, and it's not a cheap pistol. It's still $1,400, $1,500 depending where you find it. But it has got your modern 1911 features, such as your ambidextrous safety, which is very positive. Now mine does kind of, you can see that, kind of does that when you put it in the fire mode, which my other Springfield 1911 does not do. In fact, none of my other Springfield 1911s have done that, and all of them were less expensive than this. But what I noticed when shooting it, that didn't bother me one bit. I clicked it into fire, kept my thumb on top of it, and no issues there. You can see too that the slide stop, slide release / takedown lever is recessed because of the double stack grip on this thing, which is fairly wide. The actual frame is wider than your normal 1911, and in fact is flush with the slide, as you can see. And so they had to recess this into the frame, which I've seen a lot of people complain about because they say it's hard to actuate it. I haven't really had a problem with that. Doing it on camera is a little bit tough because I'm behind this thing, but you know, not really an issue to me. What I do love about this frame is it does have a Picatinny rail for a light. Now I have already put my Streamlight TLR1 HL from my M&P 2.0 on here. Works beautifully, so I've ordered one of those for it. If you get the 5-inch gun, it actually has a full 5-slot Picatinny rail. This 4 1/4 inch has one, but as I said, I've tried it and it is in the perfect place, so no issues there. The grip itself has the same texture that Springfield puts on their Hellcat Pro, which is their adaptive grip texture, I believe they call it, and it is very good. I was out shooting this in the snow today, practically in a blizzard, wet, cold, no issues holding on to the thing. It felt very, very solid in my hands, and that's one of the other great things about this. I was concerned that the grip was going to be super wide, but if you look at it compared to a standard 1911, there's actually not that much difference. A regular 1911, yes, it has a thinner magwell, but then you've got the grip panels on it, and it ends up being about the same width or thickness. So no issues there, and it actually feels really, really good. It's also got a double undercut, so you're able to get a nice high grip on it. And it even has the same texture on the front of the trigger guard if you're one of those guys that likes to put your finger up there, which is what I used to do actually. But now that I run lights on all my pistols, the light is generally in the way. So I've changed my grip to being below it. But still, if you do run it that way, that is nice to have there. It's also got the, your skeletonized trigger. And the trigger is very nice. It's a little bit heavy. The trigger on this is definitely heavier than the trigger on my Springfield Ronin, but the Ronin has also been broken in many, many hundreds of rounds, probably close to 1,000 by now, and so I believe this will break in as well. In fact, even after just putting 100 rounds through it, it's already better than it was when I first got the gun. But let's just see that trigger. Very small amount of take up, standard 1911, and a very crisp break. It's just a little bit heavier than what I expect on a higher end 1911. Here's your reset, and the reset is really nice, and it's exactly right back to the wall for the break, whereas like on my Ronin, the trigger break itself is lighter. It's definitely lighter. But the reset actually pushes you out past the break a little bit, or past the wall. So this one, the reset literally pushes you right back to the wall, which is very nice. And it's really, really easy to shoot this gun fast. And we're going to talk about shooting it in just a minute. It's also got, your skeletonized combat hammer, your memory bump on your grip safety with a very nice beaver tail there. And it doesn't really have a magwell, but that's not an issue because the 2011 magazines are tapered so much that they just go in there no matter what. Again, like I said, doing this behind the camera is one thing, but in real life, not an issue whatsoever. Now, once we get past the frame, get to the slide, I absolutely love the serrations on this. They're very, very usable, front and rear. If you guys know from my videos, I like to run most of my guns from the front of the slide. Extremely tight slide to frame fit, no wiggle, no movement whatsoever side to side. And it's very, very smooth to rack this. You know, it's one finger on the tactical rack rear sight, no problems whatsoever. And when we talk about the sights, it has my favorite kind of sights, which is the fiber optic front with the blacked out U-notch rear. This thing, when shooting it, which again we're about to get into, you can basically just watch that front sight just bounce up and down, and every time it comes back down onto your target, you pull the trigger. It's really, really easy to shoot this thing quickly and accurate, which is very nice. It's got a bull barrel, which is it is a big bull barrel. So this thing is huge. 9mm chambering, big bull barrel, so it doesn't have your standard 1911 barrel bushing, and it's got a full-length 2-piece guide rod. Now you do need an Allen wrench to take it down, and I've seen a lot of people talk about that like that's a problem. Not an issue to me. I used to have a TRP, and it had a similar, 2-piece guide rod that you needed an Allen wrench for. I don't think that's a big deal at all. Let's go back up top and talk about how this thing shot. The Prodigy comes with a 17-round magazine and a 20-round magazine, so you can go through ammo very quickly. Runs like a sewing machine. So when it came to shooting the Springfield Prodigy, I was very impressed, to say the least. Now, I have talked many times about how much of a joy it is to shoot a 1911 in 9mm. I used to be all about 45 ACP when it came to a 1911, but shooting a heavy steel gun in 9mm, the recoil is so low that it really does just feel great to shoot it. And this gun was no different. In fact, it was even better. Of all of the pistols that I've owned, I've never had a gun that came back on target as quickly and easily as this Springfield Prodigy did. Like I said a minute ago when we were up close, all you got to do is you just watch that front sight, that fiber optic, bounce up and down the slightest bit, and it comes right back down onto your target right when your trigger's resetting and you're ready to take the next shot, making it very easy to shoot this gun fast and accurate, which is what we all want, is fast and accurate. And that's kind of the point of a 2011 style pistol. And so I was out there today. I was getting footage from multiple videos. I put 100 rounds through this gun, and then I put about 50 rounds through my M&P 2.0. And if you guys have been following along, you know how much I love that M&P 2.0. But that thing felt like it recoiled so hard compared to this gun. Like, I was spoiled after shooting this before shooting that M&P. This thing really is a shooter. It's a, I don't own a Staccato or a higher end 2011 to compare it to. I can only imagine how good those are. But this gun is a fantastic shooting gun. So if you're worried about getting into one of these because of what people have said, trying to compare them to a Staccato or something else, don't. I think that it is absolutely worth the price. Save yourself $1,000. This pistol is going to shoot and run beautifully. I do believe that Springfield, has addressed the concerns, the issues, the growing pains, whatever you want to call it, when these first came out. Because, like I said, I waited until it looked like they had resolved those issues. And the gun that I got seems like it has no problems whatsoever. This thing ran 100 rounds, 100% reliable, and that was in very adverse conditions. I had to hike out there through knee-deep snow. It was snowing on me the whole time, cold, wet, but as long as you clean it and lubricate it correctly, it ran perfectly for me. So, one thing about this, if you guys know me at all, you see how I set up my pistols. This is definitely going to get an optic and a light. I mean, I feel at this point that this is going to be my new go-to gun, my bedside gun. I'm really, really happy with the Springfield Prodigy. The funny thing with that is, though, if you guys have followed along about these Prodigies, so they come out and they come in the box with the agency optic system, a plate for the Hex Dragonfly optic. Now, the agency optic system is a great system. You see here, we just got the cover on, so it just looks like a regular iron sight gun. Well, the plates are really cool. Let me take this out, actually, and I'll show you. But they are very, very solid plates, and they dovetail in the back, and then you still get your rear iron sight, which is really great when it comes to a plate system. I've always been more of a direct mount guy myself. Both of these are direct mounted to the slide. You know, slide's milled for those specific optics. But it's hard to do that with a 1911 slide because they're fairly narrow. So you do need to use a plate system, but the agency arm system is very good. The problem is nobody likes the Hex Dragonfly optic as far as I can tell. Yeah, people basically say that it sucks. It has a refresh rate that kind of like blinks when you try to move it from target to target. So I'm not going with that. I'm either going with a Trigicon RMR or a Holosun, probably a 407 or a 507C, maybe a 508T. I've been very happy with all my Holosun red dots. So that's probably the direction I'm going to go. Because again, might as well save yourself $150 compared to an RMR if it works just as good. And in my opinion, they work really, really well. So the issue with that though, for the longest time, this was the only plate you could get. Well, finally, they came out with all the other optics plates for the different, footprints. And I went on Springfield's website. The plate for the RMR was perfectly available, but I had an issue getting this gun. So my local gun store, Guffey's Gun and Pawn, had one in stock for about a month. And I went in there, maybe more than a month. I went in there at least once a week just to check that they still had it. I told them I was going to buy it as soon as I got my tax return. And then I finally got my tax return. I went in there and they'd sold it like the day before. But they had a 5-inch model. Well, I didn't want the 5-inch model. I already have a 5-inch 1911, and I'd only really seen people having major problems with the 5-inch Prodigy. So I really wanted the commander size instead of the government size for a lot of reasons. And so I was like, dude, sorry guys, what I really want is the 4 1/4. Well, they couldn't find any of their suppliers that had a 4 1/4 in stock. So another 2 weeks goes by and I keep checking back. Finally, they were able to find me one, got it shipped in, picked it up a couple days ago, went to Springfield Armory's website, and they're out of the RMR plate now. And I even called Springfield Armory. They told me that they definitely are out of them. They don't know when they're going to be back in stock. Could be a week. Could be 3 or 4 weeks. Who knows? So I will be waiting for that RMR plate. I didn't want to order it before I got the gun because I wanted to make sure I was going to be able to get the pistol, not waste money on an optic plate if I wasn't able to get it. Now that I've got it, can't get the optic plate, of course. So it is what it is. It's a newer gun. It's a very hot gun on the market, so I get it. It's extremely popular. A lot of people, just like me, it's a way to get into the 2011 game if you don't want to spend $3,000 or more on a Staccato or something even more high-end. So, very popular, and I totally understand why. This gun is absolutely awesome. I'm extremely happy with it. I have ordered the light for it. That should be here next week. And as soon as I can get the correct mounting plate, I will get an optic for it as well. We'll do some update videos. I want to make sure to let you guys know if I do start having issues with it, or if it just continues to run perfectly reliably as it did today. That was one thing I was concerned about after seeing all the issues that some people had had when these first came out. And I'm very happy that it ran perfectly first day right out of the gate. And this thing just shoots amazing. Very, very little recoil. You'll see from the shooting footage in the video, the thing barely moves. And if you have a good grip on it, like, it really barely moves. The sight picture is great. I love the blacked out rear with the fiber optic front. And like I said, you can just kind of watch that fiber optic bounce up and down on your target. Pull the trigger every time it comes back to exactly where you want it to be. It's really easy to shoot this thing fast and accurate. The trigger is nice. Like I said, it's a little bit heavy, but I also do think that that'll break in a little bit because I know that it did on my Springfield Ronin 9mm 1911. But the other great thing about these is that they're guns that you can work on, you can upgrade. And if you know me, you know that I love to work on guns, upgrade them, and make them exactly what I want. And so maybe at some point we'll get this sent off to have some work done on the trigger, the internals. Maybe I'll do it myself. I'm kind of a big proponent of learning how to work on your guns yourself. I've built my own ARs. I've built my own striker-fired pistols. Might be time to learn how to do that with 1911s, 2011s. We'll see. One of the other big things that people have talked about with these is that they use MIM parts, metal injection molding, is what that means. And the higher end 2011s do not. They're all like machined billet parts. You know what? MIM parts are not really a problem. For 99% of gun owners, not an issue. A lot of guns have MIM parts in them. Nobody talks about them whatsoever. It's just that people are comparing this to higher end 2011s, and so they think that that's a problem. I can tell you from my experience, MIM parts have not been a problem in any of my guns. It is what it is. I get it. You want to be Gucci, whatever. But, you know, we'll see. If it does become an issue, we'll be switching parts out. So if you guys have followed my channel, you know how much I love 1911s. The only big detractor from them, in my opinion, has been capacity. But with 20-round magazines, that is not a problem anymore. Oh, this puts a smile on my face. Springfield Prodigy, 4 1/4 inch. This gun is amazing. It really is. So to recap, I'm very excited to have my first 2011. Springfield Prodigy, double stack, 1911, 4 1/4 inch. This gun is a joy to shoot. I think it's built really well. For the price that you pay for this thing, you are getting a fantastic value. And from my experience so far, I would recommend it to anybody looking to get into the 2011 game that doesn't want to spend $3 grand or more on a pistol. This, I mean, it's still not cheap. You're gonna, you know, after light and optic, you're gonna be spending about $2,000 or more. But compared to shooting any of my polymer frame striker fired guns, it just shoots so much better. And while this 9mm 1911 shoots the same way, it doesn't have the capacity. This gun is like the best of both worlds. You get your 1911, everything that's great about that, but you get modern capacity like you do with your striker fired guns. It's a giant win in my book, and I really do recommend this pistol. I think it's awesome. It's my new favorite pistol. I love this thing. So We will do future videos. We'll be comparing it to my other Springfield 1911 and 9mm. We'll do comparisons with striker fired guns. We're going to do updates once I get optics, lights on it. I'm going to keep you guys informed as to how it's running, if it has stayed reliable or not, or if I've had to switch out parts, all that stuff. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that you are notified when I release more videos. If you liked this video or this type of content, please drop me a like, share it, leave me a comment. I know that these have been pretty popular. Let me know what your experience with them has been, whether you bought one of the earlier ones and had tons of problems, or if yours has been perfectly reliable. And let me know if you've been able to find an RMR optic plate for it. From Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.